Welcome to the Personal Statements for Professional Schools workshop, presented by Julie Ammon-Maddox and Alexis Shavy. This workshop is divided into 3 parts. Part 1, Pre-Planning, Part 2, Ready to Write, and Part 3, Do's and Don'ts. This is designed to be a working session, so feel free to pause the tutorial as needed so you can work on the writing prompts. Let's get started. In the first section, we will begin to brainstorm the content you want to include on the written sections of your application. As you begin to write your personal statement, it is a good time to reflect on all of the accomplishments that you want to highlight in your application materials. By taking time to brainstorm the content, you can be strategic about where you will place the information on your application. This allows you to maximize your application space and avoid redundancies. Your professional school application will have a section for you to detail work and co-curricular involvements. If you've been tracking your experiences from the beginning, then this portion will be easy. If not, now is the time to create a list of your involvements. On the screen are some broad areas to reflect on. It is not a comprehensive list, but it is a good starting point. Begin recording all of your involvements in the above areas. As you do so, recall what you did during the activity, but most importantly, think about how these challenged you and changed your view of your professional area, that is medicine, dentistry, optometry, etc. On the actual application, you will need to log contact information, hours and dates of involvement, so be sure to record this information as you go now for ease during later points in the application process. A few reminders on experiences. 1. Professional schools like to see quality over quantity, so make sure your application demonstrates some longevity and not a lot of activity hopping. 2. Recognize that you have likely done a lot of great things up to this point, but not everything has to appear on the application. By reflecting on your involvements as a whole, you can be selective and highlight activities that show breadth and depth. 3. If you are applying through AMCAS to an allopathic school, that is MD, you will have the opportunity to highlight 3 of your activities as the most meaningful, and will receive additional character space to elaborate on those activities. 4. You will want to familiarize yourself with the application guidelines for your professional area. In the resource section at the end of this tutorial, you will find links to all of the professional centralized application systems. Now that you have a fresh memory of your activities and experiences, you can use this information to show how you have developed proficiency in the various core competencies. On the screen, you will see the list of AAMC's core competencies. These standards have been endorsed by the American Association of Medical Colleges as the expectations of all applicants accepted to medical school, but these are applicable to all regardless of professional area. Your reflection and assessment of the core competencies can be done in a 4-step process, which will be demonstrated on the next slides. Step 1. Become familiar with all of the competencies and the definitions. For this example, we will be using one of the interpersonal competencies, resiliency and adaptability, which is defined as demonstrates tolerance of stressful or changing environments or situations and adapts effectively to them, is persistent even under difficult situations, recovers from setbacks. Next, in step 2, you will want to choose from the following ranking that best describes your current level of proficiency for this competency. Your options are planning, progressing, or demonstrating. In the next step, if you selected progressing or demonstrating, you should use your list of work and experiences from the previous activity as well as your life experiences to answer the following. Describe the knowledge or skills you gained from the experience that demonstrates how you developed this competency. Reflect on what you think the experience says about you as a unique individual and why it's important. Explain why the experience allowed you to grow as a person. Describe ways in which you believe your experience influenced your pursuit of a career in your professional area. And finally, draft a strategy for continuing to build on your experience in this area. If you had selected planning in the initial steps, then now you should spend some time thinking about ways you can further develop this competency. Include next steps, a timeline, and who can be a resource for you in the process. You should continue to do this four-step process with all of the core competencies. By doing so, you will deepen the reflection you have started with your work and activities at the beginning of this tutorial, and also begin incorporating significant life events into your narrative. An additional benefit of this process is the ability to easily identify any significant gaps in your experiences that you may wish to rectify before applying to professional schools. AAMC has created an easy-to-use workbook called The Anatomy of an Applicant, and a link to the document is provided in the resource section at the end of this tutorial. This document includes fillable assessment guides for each of the core competencies. Be sure to save your work as you go through this pre-planning phase. These materials will be extremely useful when you complete your primary and secondary applications and prepare for professional school interviews. At this point in your pre-planning, you should have a well-defined list of activities and experiences, and a good understanding of how these experiences have developed your professional competency. The final step in our pre-planning phase will be to select 3 personal characteristics or values that you feel best portray you in your aspirations to become a physician, dentist, optometrist, pharmacist, veterinarian, chiropractor, or podiatrist. On the screen are some examples, as well as a link to more suggestions, which will be available in the resource section at the end of this tutorial. You may find that you easily gravitate to 3 values, or you may need to review your competency rankings and work/activities for some inspiration. Thank you for taking the time to complete the pre-planning portion of the personal statement workshop. By doing these activities, you should be very well prepared to move into the next phase, which will be drafting your personal statement. Please advance to the next tutorial after reviewing the resources and references. A copy of this PowerPoint can be found on the Pre-Professional Program website, and a link is provided on the slide for reference.